I'm so glad you found your way here. Your body is healing itself right now, repairing damage while you simply exist. Tonight, you'll discover the healing secret doctors are just understanding and learn why your mind holds the key to peaceful sleep. Welcome to Psychology for Sleep. Now settle in. You're in your safe space while your brain quietly processes the day, clearing stress chemicals, preparing for rest. Allow yourself this moment of peace. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about stress and sleep, from the ancient alarm system that won't turn off, to the thoughts that circle endlessly at 3 a.m., to the bridge between worry and rest. This thoughtful journey through consciousness builds bridges between searching minds. A gentle like, subscribe, or sharing your thoughts creates a pathway for more sleep seekers to discover and brings us closer to protect this sanctuary. One sleepy soul at a time. Your healing journey inspires ours. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench. Your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep. Safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. Stress is your body's ancient survival system. And right now, millions of people lie awake because this system won't turn off. The inability to fall asleep when stressed isn't a personal failing. It's a biological response that kept your ancestors alive for millennia. When your brain perceives danger, whether it's a predator in the darkness or an upcoming work presentation, it activates the same cascade of neurochemical events. Your heart rate increases, cortisol floods your bloodstream, and your nervous system enters a state of heightened vigilance. This is the fight or flight response, first described by physiologist Walter Cannon in 1915. And it's fundamentally incompatible with sleep. Your brain is doing exactly what evolution designed it to do, keeping you alert when it believes your survival depends on staying awake. The question we'll explore tonight is why this system activates when you're actually safe in bed. Sleep and stress exist on opposite ends of your nervous system's spectrum. Your autonomic nervous system has two main branches: the sympathetic nervous system, which activates stress responses, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes rest and recovery. These two systems operate like a seesaw. When one rises, the other must fall. Sleep requires dominance of the parasympathetic system, characterized by lowered heart rate, decreased blood pressure, and reduced cortisol levels. Stress activates the sympathetic system, creating the exact opposite physiological state. Recent research from the University of California, Berkeley, published in 2024, found that even mild stress can delay sleep onset by 30 to 45 minutes by preventing this necessary shift between systems. Your body literally cannot be in both states simultaneously, which is why racing thoughts and physical relaxation feel mutually exclusive. Cortisol, often called the stress hormone, follows a natural 24-hour rhythm in healthy individuals. Levels should peak within 30 minutes of waking, a phenomenon called the cortisol awakening response, and gradually decline throughout the day, reaching their lowest point around midnight. This decline is essential for sleep initiation. However, chronic stress disrupts this rhythm entirely. A 2024 study in the journal Psychoneuroendocrinology tracked cortisol patterns in 342 adults with persistent sleep difficulties and found that 73% showed elevated nighttime cortisol levels, sometimes 200 to 500% higher than normal. When cortisol remains elevated at night, it blocks the release of melatonin, your brain's primary sleep signal. The result is lying awake, physiologically prepared for action. While your mind deeply wants rest, your hormones and your intentions are in direct conflict. The amygdala, a small, almond-shaped structure deep in your brain, is your threat detection center, and it processes potential dangers faster than your conscious awareness. It works like a security system, scanning the environment constantly for anything that might harm you. This ancient system evolved when dangers were immediate and physical predators, enemies, natural disasters. When the amygdala detects a threat, it triggers the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis within milliseconds, releasing stress hormones before you even realize you're afraid. Remarkable, isn't it? Your body protects you before your mind catches up. But here's the problem modern humans face. The amygdala can't distinguish between a bear in the woods and a harsh email from your boss. Both trigger the same alarm bells, the same pounding heart, the same tense shoulders, and that alarm keeps sleep locked away behind a wall of vigilance. Your prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for rational thought, planning, and decision-making, requires enormous energy to function. During sleep, this area reduces activity significantly, allowing you to rest. But when you're stressed, the prefrontal cortex remains hyperactive, continuously analyzing problems, planning solutions, and rehearsing conversations that haven't happened yet. Neuroimaging studies from Stanford University in 2024 showed that stressed individuals trying to fall asleep displayed prefrontal cortex activity levels similar to those engaged in complex problem-solving tasks. Imagine trying to sleep while simultaneously doing mental math. That's essentially what your brain is doing. This explains why your mind races with thoughts like, "I should have said this," or "What if that happens tomorrow?" The thinking brain won't quiet down because it believes it's protecting you by staying alert. Humans are one of the few species that can anticipate future threats. And this cognitive ability, while beneficial for planning, works against rest at night. Other mammals primarily respond to immediate, present dangers. A deer might startle at a sound. But once the threat passes, its stress response ends. Humans, however, can lie in a completely safe bedroom and generate stress responses by simply thinking about events that might happen tomorrow, next week, or next year. Psychologists call this anticipatory anxiety, and it's uniquely human. A 2024 meta-analysis in Nature Reviews Psychology examined 127 studies and found that approximately 65% of stress-related sleep disturbances stem from worrying about future events rather than processing actual current problems. Your imagination, designed to help you prepare for challenges, instead keeps you awake, preparing for scenarios that may never occur. The relationship between stress and sleep creates a vicious cycle that's difficult to break. Stress disrupts sleep, but sleep deprivation also increases stress reactivity. When you don't get adequate sleep, your amygdala becomes approximately 60% more reactive to negative stimuli. According to research from Harvard Medical School, published in early 2024, this means that after a poor night's sleep, you're more likely to perceive neutral situations as threatening, which generates more stress, which further disrupts sleep the following night. Additionally, sleep deprivation impairs prefrontal cortex function, reducing your ability to regulate emotional responses rationally. You become simultaneously more stressed by smaller triggers and less capable of managing that stress effectively. This cycle can persist for weeks or months, each night's poor sleep setting up the next night's struggle. Not all stress affects sleep equally. Acute stress, the kind you experience before a job interview or during a brief argument, typically resolves quickly and may only disrupt sleep for 1 or 2 nights. Your body's stress response peaks, then naturally returns to baseline once the stressor passes. Chronic stress, however, fundamentally alters your sleep architecture. This is stress that persists for weeks or months, ongoing work pressure, relationship difficulties, financial worries, or caregiving responsibilities. Research from the National Institutes of Health in 2024 found that individuals experiencing chronic stress for 3 months or longer showed an average reduction of 45 minutes in total sleep time per night, with slow-wave sleep decreasing by up to 30% compared to their pre-stress baseline. The longer stress persists, the more it rewires your brain's sleep-wake circuitry, making it progressively harder to fall asleep even on nights when you feel relatively calm. Your body interprets certain types of thoughts as physical threats, even when you're completely safe. This happens because the limbic system, the emotional center of your brain, doesn't distinguish well between symbolic and literal dangers. When you worry about losing your job, being rejected, or failing at something important, your brain activates the same threat response it would if you were facing a physical predator. Your heart rate increases, muscles tense, breathing becomes shallow, and stress hormones surge through your bloodstream. This response made perfect sense 200,000 years ago when most threats were physical and immediate. But in modern life, where most stressors are psychological and future-oriented, this ancient system misfires constantly. Your body prepares to fight or flee from dangers that exist only in thought, and sleep becomes impossible, while this internal alarm continues sounding. So yes, stress already changes how you sleep by fundamentally altering brain chemistry and neural activity patterns. The transition from wakefulness to sleep requires a precise sequence of neurochemical events. Adenosine must accumulate, melatonin must rise, core body temperature must drop, and arousal-promoting neurotransmitters like norepinephrine and dopamine must decrease. Stress disrupts each of these processes. Elevated cortisol blocks melatonin production. Anxiety increases norepinephrine, keeping you alert. Worried thoughts prevent the mental quieting necessary for sleep initiation. A 2024 study tracking real-time brain activity during the stress-to-sleep transition found that stressed individuals required 3 to 4 times longer to complete this sequence compared to relaxed individuals. The biological machinery of sleep still functions. Stress simply prevents you from accessing it, like trying to enter a locked room when you know the door is there. The concept of sleep pressure helps explain why stress affects sleep so profoundly. Throughout your waking hours, a chemical called adenosine accumulates in your brain, creating increasing pressure to sleep, similar to how hunger builds the longer you go without eating. Normally, This pressure reaches a threshold around your usual bedtime, making sleep feel natural and irresistible. However, stress-related arousal can override even intense sleep pressure. Research from the Max Planck Institute, published in late 2024, demonstrated that stress-activated arousal systems can override adenosine's sleep-promoting signals, even when adenosine has accumulated to very high levels. This explains the paradoxical experience of feeling utterly exhausted, yet completely unable to fall asleep. Your body truly needs rest. The biological pressure is there, but the stress-activated arousal system refuses to allow the transition. Two opposing forces locked in stalemate. Your breathing pattern serves as a direct bridge between your mental state and your sleep capacity. When stressed, breathing becomes rapid and shallow, centered in the chest rather than the diaphragm. This activates the sympathetic nervous system, signaling danger to your brain and body. In contrast, sleep requires slow, deep, diaphragmatic breathing that activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Each breath pattern reinforces its associated state. Shallow breathing maintains stress. Deep breathing promotes calm. Clinical studies in 2024 showed that deliberately slowing breathing to 5 to 6 breaths per minute, compared to the stressed rate of 15 to 20, can reduce cortisol levels by up to 25% within just 10 minutes. Your breath is perhaps the only bodily function that's both automatic and consciously controllable, making it a powerful tool for shifting from stressed wakefulness to receptive sleepiness. Rumination, the repetitive focus on problems, their causes, and their consequences, is one of the strongest predictors of stress-related insomnia. When you ruminate, your mind cycles through the same thoughts repeatedly without reaching solutions, like a record skipping on the same groove. Psychological research distinguishes between productive problem-solving, which has a goal and endpoint, and rumination, which circles endlessly. A landmark 2024 study in Sleep Medicine Reviews, analyzing data from over 1,200 participants, found that bedtime rumination strongly predicted difficulty falling asleep, with the relationship appearing in the vast majority of cases studied. The longer you've been ruminating during the day, the more likely those thought patterns will continue at night. Your brain has essentially trained itself to run these loops, and changing the pattern requires interrupting the cycle consciously. Simply telling yourself to stop thinking rarely works, because rumination has become a deeply ingrained habit. Sleep timing matters as much as sleep quality when managing stress. Your circadian rhythm, the internal biological clock that regulates sleep-wake cycles, creates windows of optimal sleep opportunity throughout the 24-hour day. The strongest sleep drive typically occurs between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. for most adults. Though individual chronotypes vary, going to bed during your natural sleep window makes falling asleep significantly easier. However, stress often disrupts bedtime routines, leading people to stay up later, worrying or trying to accomplish just one more thing. Missing your sleep window means fighting against your biology. A 2024 chronobiology study found that attempting sleep outside your circadian window requires 40 to 60% more time to fall asleep, even without additional stress. When you combine mistimed sleep attempts with stress-related arousal, sleep becomes nearly impossible. The bed itself can become a conditioned cue for wakefulness when you repeatedly experience stress-related sleeplessness there. Classical conditioning, the same principle that taught Pavlov's dogs to salivate at a bell, applies to sleep environments. If you regularly lie awake in bed feeling anxious, your brain begins associating the bed with wakefulness and worry rather than sleep and safety. Sleep specialists call this conditioned arousal, and it's surprisingly powerful. You might feel tired in the living room but suddenly alert the moment you lie down in bed, even without specific worries. A 2024 behavioral sleep medicine study demonstrated that conditioned arousal can develop surprisingly quickly in susceptible individuals. Sometimes, after just several nights of prolonged wakefulness in bed, though the timeline varies considerably from person to person. Breaking this association requires consistently using the bed only for sleep, not for worrying, working, or watching stressful content. The bed must be reclaimed as a sleep sanctuary. Modern technology adds another layer to stress-related sleep problems in ways our ancestors never experienced. Blue light from screens suppresses melatonin production. But the content you consume matters even more than the light itself. Checking work emails before bed activates problem-solving neural networks. Scrolling through news feeds exposes you to dozens of potential stressors. Social media comparison triggers feelings of inadequacy or anxiety. A comprehensive 2024 analysis across 43 countries found that evening screen time increased stress-related sleep latency by an average of 22 minutes, with the effect strongest for work-related and social media use. The constant connectivity means your brain never receives a clear signal that the workday has ended and safety has begun. Ancient humans watched the sun set, saw darkness fall, and understood instinctively that it was time to rest. Modern humans receive no such clear transition. Muscle tension is both a symptom and a cause of stress-related sleeplessness. When stressed, your muscles contract involuntarily, preparing your body for action. You might clench your jaw, raise your shoulders, or tighten your fists without conscious awareness. This physical tension sends signals back to your brain that danger is present. Creating a feedback loop, stress causes tension. Tension signals continued threat, which maintains stress. Progressive muscle relaxation. The practice of systematically tensing and releasing muscle groups interrupts this loop. Research from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine in 2024 showed that just 10 minutes of progressive muscle relaxation before bed reduced sleep onset time by an average of 18 minutes in people with stress-related insomnia. The physical act of releasing tension tells your brain that it's safe to power down, that no threat requires muscular preparation. The concept of cognitive arousal describes what happens in your mind during stress-related sleeplessness. Even when your body is physically still, your mind races with mental activity, planning, worrying, analyzing, rehearsing. This internal activity generates the same arousal as external stimulation. Brain imaging studies show that cognitive arousal activates similar neural networks, whether you're actually solving a problem or simply thinking about solving it. A particularly fascinating 2024 discovery from neuroscience researchers at MIT found that the mere anticipation of needing to solve a problem tomorrow can maintain arousal levels high enough to prevent sleep tonight. Your brain essentially stays online, keeping systems active just in case you suddenly need to think of that perfect solution. Craft that ideal response. Or remember that crucial detail. The possibility of mental work prevents the shutdown necessary for sleep. Temperature regulation plays a crucial yet often overlooked role in the stress-sleep relationship. Core body temperature must drop approximately 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit, for sleep to initiate. This is why cool bedrooms promote better sleep. However, stress interferes with this natural temperature decline. When your sympathetic nervous system is activated, it diverts blood flow to major muscle groups and keeps your metabolism elevated, both of which maintain higher core temperature. Additionally, anxiety often causes night sweats or feeling overheated in bed. Recent thermoregulation research from 2024 demonstrated that stressed individuals showed delayed and diminished nighttime temperature drops, with peak temperature occurring 1 to 2 hours later than normal. This seemingly small shift can prevent sleep initiation entirely. Interestingly, external cooling through ambient temperature, breathable bedding, or even a warm bath before bed, which triggers cooling afterward, can help override stress-induced temperature dysregulation. Caffeine and stress create a particularly problematic combination for sleep. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors in your brain, preventing sleep pressure from building even as hours of wakefulness accumulate. Stress increases cortisol, which already promotes alertness. Together, they create a state of heightened arousal that can persist for hours. The half-life of caffeine, the time it takes for your body to eliminate half of what you consumed, is approximately 5 to 6 hours in healthy adults. But stress can extend this significantly. A 2024 pharmacology study found that cortisol slows caffeine metabolism, meaning that afternoon coffee consumed during a stressful workday might still be active in your system at bedtime. You're essentially fighting sleep from two directions: the chemical blockade of sleep pressure and the hormonal activation of wakefulness. Sleep onset normally involves a gradual transition through distinct stages. But stress disrupts this natural progression. In healthy sleep, you move from wakefulness to light sleep, stage 1, then to slightly deeper sleep, stage 2, before entering slow-wave sleep, stage 3, and eventually REM sleep. This progression follows a predictable neural pattern, with different brain regions activating and deactivating in sequence. However, neuroimaging studies from 2024 reveal that stressed brains show chaotic, non-sequential activation patterns during sleep attempts. Areas that should be quieting remain active, while regions that should activate remain dormant. It's like trying to follow a recipe, but constantly skipping steps or doing them out of order. The final result never materializes correctly. This disrupted sequencing explains why you might feel like you're hovering in a strange state between wakefulness and sleep, never fully entering either realm. The phenomenon of sleep effort paradox describes how trying harder to fall asleep actually makes sleep less likely. Sleep is a passive process. It happens when you stop trying, when you let go of conscious control. But stress creates urgency around sleep itself. You think, I must fall asleep now or I'll be exhausted tomorrow, which generates performance anxiety about sleep. This anxiety activates the same arousal systems that stress does, creating additional obstacles to sleep. Sleep researchers in 2024 found that individuals with high sleep effort scores, those who tried hardest to make sleep happen, had significantly longer sleep latencies and poorer sleep quality. The more you pursue sleep with urgency, the more it eludes you. It's similar to trying to force yourself to relax or command yourself to forget something. The act of trying defeats the purpose. Sleep requires surrender, not effort. Emotional processing that should happen during waking hours often gets postponed until nighttime, contributing to stress-related sleeplessness. Throughout the day, you might suppress difficult emotions to maintain productivity or social appropriateness, putting feelings on hold until later. But later arrives when you lie down in quiet darkness, and suddenly those postponed emotions demand attention. Without the distractions of daytime activity, worry, sadness, anger, or fear surface with full intensity. A 2024 study on emotional regulation and sleep found that individuals who actively avoided processing emotions during the day experienced 67% more intrusive thoughts at bedtime. Your mind essentially uses nighttime quiet as an opportunity to finally address what you've been avoiding. This delayed emotional processing explains why problems that seemed manageable during the day feel overwhelming at 2 a.m. in the dark. Social stress, conflict with partners, family tensions, workplace relationship problems appears to disrupt sleep more severely than many other stressor types. Humans are fundamentally social creatures, and threats to social bonds activate ancient survival circuits. Being excluded from the group or experiencing rejection once meant literal danger to our ancestors' survival. Modern social stress triggers these same deep-seated fear responses. A comprehensive 2024 analysis of sleep and social stressors found that relationship conflicts showed the strongest statistical relationship with sleep disturbances when compared to financial worries, work stress, or health concerns. Though all these stressors can significantly disrupt sleep, arguments or tension with someone close, especially unresolved issues, can keep your amygdala hyperactive throughout the night, continuously scanning for social threat cues. Interestingly, even perceived social stress, believing others are angry or disappointed with you, whether true or not, produces the same sleep-disrupting arousal as actual social conflicts. These observations reveal that your brain treats psychological worry like physical danger, activating ancient survival systems that were never designed for modern abstract concerns. Evidence suggests the stress response evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to handle immediate, concrete threats, escaping predators, finding food, protecting offspring. These situations required alertness and action, and sleep during active danger would have been fatal. Your biology hasn't caught up to the fact that most modern stressors, work deadlines, social media comparison, financial anxiety, relationship tensions, don't require the fight or flight response. They require thought, patience, and often time. But your brain doesn't know this. A worried thought about tomorrow's presentation activates the same neural pathways as spotting a predator in the grass. The system is working exactly as designed. It's just wildly mismatched to the challenges you actually face, keeping you alert for dangers that exist only in thought. Let's pause here and notice your body as you breathe out slowly. Appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence. Heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing, always seeking equilibrium even when your thoughts race. Your body knows how to rest, even when your mind has forgotten. Feel that wisdom now, that ancient knowledge carried in every cell. Now, we continue. Understanding how stress hijacks your sleep begins with recognizing that arousal and sleep exist on a continuum, not as binary states. You're not simply awake or asleep. You exist somewhere along a spectrum of arousal that ranges from hypervigilance to deep unconsciousness. Sleep requires you to gradually move down this spectrum, crossing several thresholds along the way. Stress anchors you at the high end of this continuum, like trying to walk down a hill while someone holds a rope tied around your waist, pulling you back upward. Every stressed thought, every muscle tension, every rapid heartbeat pulls you back toward higher arousal. A 2024 study using continuous arousal monitoring found that stressed individuals made, on average, 7 attempts to descend the arousal spectrum before achieving sleep, compared to 1 or 2 attempts for relaxed individuals. The default mode network, a collection of brain regions active during rest and mind wandering, behaves differently in stressed versus relaxed states. Normally, this network activates when you're not focused on external tasks, allowing your mind to wander, process experiences, and integrate memories. This wandering state is actually conducive to falling asleep because it represents mental disengagement from goal-directed activity. However, under stress, the default mode network doesn't wander peacefully. It fixates. Instead of drifting through various thoughts, it loops repeatedly through stress-related content. Neuroimaging research from 2024 showed that stressed individuals' default mode networks displayed rigid, repetitive activation patterns rather than the fluid, wandering patterns seen in relaxed brains. Your resting mind, which should help you transition to sleep, instead becomes stuck, replaying the same worries endlessly, like a song you can't get out of your head. Hyperarousal, a state of increased psychological and physiological tension, is the core feature distinguishing stress-related insomnia from other sleep problems. People with hyperarousal show elevated heart rate, increased metabolic rate, higher body temperature, and more rapid brainwave activity compared to good sleepers. Even during sleep itself, it's as if their entire system is running at a higher idle speed. A landmark 2024 longitudinal study tracking arousal levels across 24-hour periods found that hyper-aroused individuals never fully powered down, maintaining stress level activation even during sleep. This explains why you might sleep but wake feeling unrefreshed. Your body was sleeping, but your nervous system remained partially activated throughout the night. Sleep becomes less restorative when it happens in the context of ongoing physiological arousal, like trying to charge a phone that's still being used. The power never fully restores. The anticipation of not sleeping often becomes as disruptive as actual stress itself. Once you've experienced several nights of stress-related sleeplessness, a new problem emerges: anxiety about sleep itself. You approach bedtime with dread, thinking, "Here we go again, or I'll probably be awake for hours." This anticipatory anxiety creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your expectation of sleeplessness activates the same arousal response as external stressors would. Sleep medicine specialists recognize this as learned insomnia or psychophysiological insomnia, where the original stressor may have resolved. But the sleep problem persists because anxiety about sleep has replaced the initial cause. A 2024 clinical study examining individuals with insomnia lasting 6 months or longer found that in a substantial portion of cases, anxiety specifically about sleep had become as disruptive or more disruptive than the stressor that originally triggered the sleep problem. The fear of sleeplessness perpetuates sleeplessness. Your internal dialogue, the running commentary in your mind, significantly influences your ability to transition from stress to sleep. Research in cognitive psychology distinguishes between adaptive self-talk that supports regulation and maladaptive self-talk that amplifies distress. Statements like, "I'll never fall asleep," or "tomorrow will be ruined if I don't sleep now," amplify arousal and anxiety. They're also rarely accurate. Humans regularly function adequately on less than ideal sleep, and one poor night doesn't catastrophically impact performance. A 2024 intervention study tested changing internal dialogue in stressed individuals attempting sleep, those who practiced neutral, acceptance-based self-talk. "I'm awake right now, and that's okay," or "my body will rest even if I don't fully sleep," fell asleep an average of 26 minutes faster than those using their habitual anxious self-talk. Your words to yourself shape your physiological state. Stress doesn't just prevent sleep. It actively dismantles the architecture of sleep when it does occur. Sleep architecture refers to the cyclical pattern of sleep stages throughout the night cycles of light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep that repeat roughly every 90 minutes. In healthy sleep, you spend adequate time in each stage, with deep sleep concentrated in the first half of the night and REM sleep increasing toward morning. Chronic stress reduces time spent in deep sleep and fragments sleep into shorter, lighter segments. Polysomnography studies from 2024 showed that highly stressed individuals spent significantly less time in slow-wave sleep, in some cases nearly half as much, and experienced considerably more brief awakenings throughout the night, even when total sleep time remained similar to non-stressed sleepers. The sleep you get under stress is fundamentally different. Lighter, more fragmented, less restorative. The timing of stress exposure influences its impact on sleep differently depending on when it occurs. Morning stress, while unpleasant, typically has minimal effect on that night's sleep because your body has all day to metabolize stress hormones and return to baseline. Afternoon stress shows moderate effects, but stress experienced in the evening, particularly within 3 hours of bedtime, almost always disrupts sleep. Your cortisol levels haven't had time to naturally decline before you attempt sleep. A 2024 chronobiology study tracking stress, timing, and sleep found that identical stressors produced 3 times more sleep disruption when experienced at 8 p.m. versus 8 a.m. This doesn't mean evening stress should be avoided. Life doesn't work that way. But it does explain why some days' stress affects sleep more than others. Even when the stressor feels equally intense, the quality of your daytime rest periods influences how stress affects nighttime sleep. Stress without relief accumulates throughout the day, creating progressively higher arousal by bedtime. Brief periods of genuine relaxation during the day, even just 5 to 10 minutes of conscious deactivation, can partially reset your stress response system. These micro-recovery periods allow cortisol to decrease temporarily, give your sympathetic nervous system brief respites, and prevent the continuous accumulation of tension. Workplace research, published in 2024, demonstrated that employees who took 3 10-minute relaxation breaks during stressful workdays showed 35% better sleep metrics than those who worked continuously through stress. The breaks didn't eliminate stress. but they prevented it from compounding unmanageably. Think of it like releasing pressure from a valve periodically, rather than letting it build to the point of explosion. Small releases throughout the day protect nighttime sleep. Control, or more precisely, the perception of control, moderates how strongly stress disrupts sleep. Research distinguishes between controllable stressors, challenges you can potentially influence through action, and uncontrollable stresses, situations completely beyond your power to change. While both types activate stress responses, uncontrollable stress appears particularly toxic to sleep. A 2024 meta-analysis examining stress, controllability, and sleep across 89 studies found that uncontrollable stresses predicted sleep disturbances twice as strongly as controllable ones. This makes sense evolutionarily when you can act to resolve a threat. Stress motivates useful behavior. When you can't act, stress becomes purely detrimental. Arousal without purpose. The most sleep-disrupting thoughts often involve situations where you feel helpless, waiting for medical results, anticipating others' decisions, worrying about events you cannot influence. The arousal has nowhere productive to go, so it simply prevents sleep. Sleep deprivation caused by stress creates cognitive distortions that make stressors appear worse than they objectively are. When sleep deprived, you lose access to prefrontal cortex functions that normally help you maintain perspective, regulate emotions, and think flexibly about problems. Small inconveniences feel catastrophic. Solvable problems seem insurmountable. Neutral social interactions appear hostile. Psychologists call this negativity bias amplification, and it's measurable. A 2024 cognitive assessment study found that after one night of stress-related poor sleep, participants rated identical problems as 47% more severe than they had the previous day. This creates a downward spiral. Stress disrupts sleep. Sleep loss amplifies stress perception. Amplified stress further disrupts sleep. Breaking this cycle requires either improving sleep or recognizing that you're stressed. Sleep-deprived assessment of situations is fundamentally distorted and shouldn't be trusted. The relationship between physical exercise and stress-related sleep is complex and timing-dependent. Exercise is one of the most powerful stress reduction tools available, helping metabolize stress hormones and tire the body in ways that promote sleep. However, vigorous exercise too close to bedtime can temporarily increase arousal, raising heart rate, core temperature, and activating the sympathetic nervous system, the exact opposite of what you need before sleep. Current exercise science from 2024 suggests that moderate exercise is beneficial for stress-related sleep regardless of timing. But vigorous exercise should finish at least 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. Interestingly, gentle movement like walking, stretching, or restorative yoga performed in the evening can enhance sleep even for stressed individuals. The key distinction is intensity movement that calms rather than energizes, that grounds rather than activates. The body appreciates the difference. Stress affects sleep differently across the lifespan, with vulnerability patterns changing as you age. Children and adolescents, whose sleep systems are still developing, show high sensitivity to stress, but also remarkable recovery. One good night often resets their system. Young adults show moderate stress sensitivity, but can often override sleep deprivation through sheer physiological resilience. Middle-aged adults facing peak life stressors like career demands, family responsibilities, aging parents, show the highest rates of chronic stress-related sleep problems. Older adult sleep becomes more fragile overall, with stress disrupting sleep more easily, but often for shorter durations. A 2024 lifespan sleep study, tracking 2,300 individuals from ages 18 to 78, found that stress-sleep relationships were least problematic before age 25 and after age 65, with vulnerability increasing notably during the middle adult years when multiple life stressors often converge. Personality traits influence vulnerability to stress-related sleep problems in predictable ways. Individuals high in neuroticism, characterized by anxiety, proneness, emotional reactivity, and worry, show 3 to 4 times more stress-related sleep disruption than those low in neuroticism, even when exposed to identical stressors. Perfectionists who set unrealistically high standards show elevated sleep problems because they generate internal stress, even when external circumstances are calm. Conversely, people high in conscientiousness often protect their sleep through consistent routines and healthy behaviors. A fascinating 2024 personality and sleep study found that optimists, those who expect positive outcomes, fell asleep significantly faster during stressful periods, apparently because their expectation that things will work out reduced anticipatory anxiety that would otherwise maintain arousal. Your fundamental temperament shapes how stress translates into sleep disruption. Though awareness of these patterns allows for compensating strategies, the sleep environment becomes critically important when stress already makes sleep difficult. Under normal circumstances, humans can sleep in less than ideal conditions. Moderate noise, imperfect temperatures, some light. But when stressed, environmental factors that would normally be minor annoyances become significant barriers. Your tolerance for sleep disruption decreases as your arousal increases. A 2024 environmental sleep study found that stressed individuals showed 2 to 3 times more sensitivity to ambient noise, light, and temperature variations than relaxed individuals attempting sleep. Street noise that wouldn't wake a calm sleeper can prevent a stressed person from falling asleep initially. A room temperature of 72 degrees Fahrenheit might be fine normally but feel intolerably warm when stressed. This heightened sensitivity isn't psychological weakness. It's a natural consequence of arousal. When your nervous system is already activated, it takes less additional stimulation to keep you from crossing the threshold into sleep. We now understand that stress blocks sleep through multiple simultaneous pathways: hormonal, neurological, cognitive, and behavioral, each reinforcing the others in a complex web of interaction. It's not simply that cortisol is high or thoughts are racing. It's that cortisol prevents temperature decline, which delays melatonin release, while racing thoughts maintain prefrontal activation, which signals the amygdala to stay vigilant, which increases muscle tension, which signals continued threat, which maintains cortisol elevation. These systems form feedback loops, each sustaining the others. This complexity explains why simple solutions rarely work for chronic stress-related sleep problems. Telling someone to just relax ignores the fact that multiple biological systems are actively maintaining arousal. Breaking the cycle requires addressing multiple pathways simultaneously, calming the body, quieting the mind, creating the right environment, and importantly, releasing the effort to make sleep happen immediately. You're still here with me. thoughts still flickering like candlelight. Just notice. Don't judge. Just notice where your mind is. We're exploring the very consciousness that's doing the exploring right now. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. If this gentle journey helps you understand your own mind a little better, perhaps share it softly with someone else searching for answers too. Let's drift onward together. Here's something important to understand. Stress isn't actually the enemy of sleep. Stress is a messenger, delivering information about what matters to you. You stress about things you care about, work that matters, relationships you value, health you want to protect, goals you're pursuing. The problem isn't the stress itself, but your relationship with it. When you fight against stress, resist it. Try to eliminate it forcefully. You create additional tension. It's like struggling in quicksand. The more you fight, the deeper you sink. A 2024 acceptance-based therapy study for insomnia found that participants who learned to acknowledge stress without battling it fell asleep 19 minutes faster than those attempting to suppress or eliminate stressful thoughts. The paradox is that accepting stress's presence often reduces its power more effectively than fighting it. Scientists believe your body prioritizes vigilance over sleep when stressed, because for hundreds of thousands of years, sleeping during genuine danger meant death. An ancestor who fell asleep while predators stalked nearby didn't survive to pass on genes. The individuals who survived were those whose stress response kept them alert during actual threats. You carry those survivors' genes. Your body is doing exactly what evolution refined over millennia, keeping you awake when it perceives danger. The issue is that modern dangers are rarely solved by staying awake. Your job stress doesn't require physical vigilance at 2 a.m. Your relationship concern won't be resolved by ruminating in darkness. Your financial worry doesn't need nighttime attention. But your ancient biology doesn't know this. It's running a survival program designed for different threats entirely. Understanding this disconnect helps you work with your biology rather than against it. The concept of psychological safety is fundamental to understanding stress-related sleep problems. Sleep requires vulnerability. You're unconscious, defenseless, unaware. Your brain will only permit sleep when it determines you're safe enough to be vulnerable. Psychological safety isn't about actual objective safety in your bedroom. It's about whether your mind perceives safety. When stress convinces your mind that threat is present or imminent, sleep becomes psychologically impossible regardless of physical safety. A 2024 therapeutic study worked with individuals to identify and address perceived threats, maintaining arousal. Often, the threats were abstract: fear of failure, rejection, inadequacy. But they activated survival responses as powerfully as physical danger would. Creating psychological safety means convincing your primitive brain that rest is permitted, that you're protected enough to lower your guard. Imagery and metaphor can shift your stress-sleep relationship in surprising ways. When you conceptualize stress as an enemy to defeat, you remain in fight mode, aroused, tense, resistant. But changing the metaphor changes your physiology. Some people find it helpful to imagine stress as waves. They rise, they peak, they fall, they pass. Others imagine stress as weather. Storms come, but they also go, and you're sheltered underneath. A 2024 imagery-based intervention study tested different metaphors and found that participants who used passing imagery like waves, weather, clouds, showed 40% faster sleep onset than those using battle imagery like fighting, defeating, overcoming. The language you use internally, even the metaphors you think with, directly influence whether your nervous system stays activated or begins settling. Words shape physiology more than we often realize. Sleep medication can provide temporary relief from stress-related sleeplessness, but it doesn't address underlying mechanisms and can create dependency. Medications work by artificially sedating the brain or enhancing sleep-promoting neurotransmitters, essentially overriding the arousal caused by stress. This can break a difficult cycle and provide much-needed rest in acute situations. However, long-term use often becomes problematic. The brain adapts to the medication, requiring higher doses for the same effect. Natural sleep architecture becomes disrupted. Withdrawal becomes difficult. A 2024 review of sleep medication outcomes found that behavioral and cognitive approaches produced equal short-term improvements, but significantly better long-term outcomes compared to medication alone. The most effective approach often combines brief medication use during crisis periods with concurrent development of stress management and sleep hygiene skills that can eventually replace the medication. The goal is restoration of natural sleep capacity. The transition from wakefulness to sleep isn't instantaneous. It's a gradual process that stress can interrupt at multiple points. Sleep researchers identify several distinct phases in this transition: quiet wakefulness, drowsiness, light sleep, and progressively deeper sleep stages. Under normal circumstances, you flow through these phases smoothly, barely noticing the transitions. Stress, however, can jar you backward at any point. You might reach drowsiness, then a worried thought pulls you back to full alertness, or you might enter light sleep. Then a noise that wouldn't normally wake you startles you back to wakefulness because your aroused nervous system remains hypervigilant. A 2024 sleep laboratory study using continuous monitoring found that stressed individuals cycled backward through these phases an average of 5 to 7 times before finally achieving stable sleep, while relaxed individuals moved forward smoothly on the first attempt. Meaning making around your stress influences how severely it disrupts sleep. When you interpret a stressor as catastrophic, overwhelming, or threatening to core identity, sleep disruption is severe and prolonged. When you interpret the same objective stressor as challenging but manageable, or even as an opportunity for growth, sleep disruption is milder and shorter-lived. This isn't positive thinking or denial. It's about the narrative you construct around stressful events. A particularly compelling 2024 longitudinal study tracked 2 groups facing similar stressors, job loss, and found vastly different sleep outcomes based on meaning-making. Those who framed job loss as "my life is ruined" showed persistent, severe insomnia. Those who framed it as "this is difficult, but might lead somewhere new" experienced only temporary sleep disruption. The story you tell yourself about stress becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for sleep. Social support serves as a powerful buffer between stress and sleep disruption, even when that support doesn't directly solve the stressor. Feeling connected, understood, and cared for reduces the threat perception that stress creates. Your nervous system literally calms when you feel emotionally supported, even if practical circumstances haven't changed. Conversely, social isolation amplifies stress's impact on sleep. A 2024 study on social support and sleep tracked individuals through stressful life events and found that those with strong social connections showed 60% less stress-related sleep disruption than those facing similar stressors alone. Interestingly, perceived support mattered more than objective support. Believing people cared and would help if needed was more protective than actual offers of help. Connection itself, whether or not it changes circumstances, signals safety to your primitive brain. Gratitude practices, though they might sound simplistic, demonstrably reduce stress-related arousal before sleep. Focusing on what you're grateful for shifts attention away from threat-focused thinking and activates neural circuits associated with contentment and safety rather than danger and survival. It's not that gratitude makes problems disappear. It's that it temporarily redirects your attention toward elements of your life that are going well, creating balance against the negativity bias stress induces. A 2024 randomized controlled trial testing bedtime gratitude journaling found that participants who spent 5 minutes writing 3 things they were grateful for before bed fell asleep 23 minutes faster than control groups. Even when both groups faced similar stress levels, the practice doesn't eliminate stress, but it provides a cognitive counterweight that helps tip the balance toward sleep. Halfway through our journey, the answer to why you can't sleep when stressed is becoming clear. It's not a single cause, but a perfect storm. Ancient survival biology meeting modern abstract worries. Arousal systems designed for immediate physical threats, responding to future psychological concerns. A brain that can't distinguish between real and imagined danger. Feedback loops that sustain themselves. And a fundamental mismatch between what your body was designed to handle and what contemporary life actually demands. You're not broken or weak when stress prevents sleep. You're human, carrying neural circuits shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, trying to rest in a world those circuits never anticipated. Understanding this is the first step toward working with your biology rather than against it, toward finding the pathways back to natural sleep. Let each breath guide you to realize time is yours, a separate stream that only you are living. While the vast universe continues to spin, expand, change. This second you're breathing, listening, is unique. All the worries about tomorrow exist only as thoughts about what hasn't happened yet. All the regrets about yesterday are memories of what cannot be changed. But this moment, this exact moment, is free from both. Cherish the present moment, knowing that right now, your time is yours alone, not yesterday's mistakes, not tomorrow's challenges, just this breath, just this stillness. And we continue drifting. The pathway from stress to sleep isn't about eliminating stress entirely. That's neither realistic nor necessary. It's about changing your relationship with stress so it no longer holds you hostage at night. This involves several concurrent shifts, recognizing when your mind is running threat detection programs unnecessarily, learning to observe worried thoughts without becoming entangled in them, creating clear boundaries between daytime concerns and nighttime rest, and most importantly, developing trust that your problems will still be there tomorrow and that rest will help you handle them better. A 2024 mindfulness-based intervention for stress-related insomnia taught exactly these skills, resulting in 68% of participants reporting significant sleep improvement within 8 weeks. The stress didn't disappear. Their relationship with it changed, which changed everything. Rumination, that endless mental circling, can be interrupted through a simple but powerful technique, postponement. When worried thoughts arise at bedtime, rather than trying to suppress them, which paradoxically makes them stronger, or engaging with them, which maintains arousal, you acknowledge them and schedule time to address them tomorrow. I hear you, and I'll think about this tomorrow at 2 p.m. This isn't avoidance. It's time management for mental energy. A 2024 cognitive therapy study found that worry postponement reduced nighttime rumination by 71% and decreased sleep onset time by an average of 31 minutes. The technique works because it acknowledges the concern without activating problem-solving networks that would maintain wakefulness. Tomorrow is soon enough for most worries. Your nervous system has a built-in capacity for self-regulation that stress temporarily overwhelms but doesn't eliminate. Heart rate variability, the natural variation in time between heartbeats, serves as a window into this regulatory capacity. Higher variability indicates a flexible, adaptive nervous system capable of shifting between arousal and calm. Lower variability indicates a rigid, stressed system stuck in high arousal. Breathing exercises, particularly slow exhales that are longer than inhales, increase heart rate variability within minutes, signaling your nervous system to shift toward parasympathetic dominance. Recent 2024 research showed that just a few minutes of slow breathing, for example, 4 seconds in and 6 seconds out, measurably reduced cortisol and increased subjective calmness. Your biology responds to gentle intervention. Your relationship with sleep matters more than your effort toward it. When you shift from pursuing sleep as a goal to creating space where rest might naturally unfold, the nervous system receives a different signal, one of safety rather than pressure, of allowing rather than demanding. The nervous system has natural rhythms of activation and rest that occur throughout the day and night. When you align with these rhythms rather than fighting them, resting when tired, moving when restless, you support your body's innate regulatory systems. Sleep becomes easier not through perfect control but through gentle cooperation with cycles already present within you. The paradox of sleep is that it comes more easily when you care less urgently about achieving it. Chronic stress creates a heavy fog in the mind where thoughts drift in circles, unable to settle. But fog always clears. Weather always changes. Nothing remains constant, including the intensity of stress arousal. Even without intervention, arousal levels fluctuate naturally throughout the night. There are moments, brief windows, when your body's stress response temporarily dips, when cortisol wavers, when the vigilant mind momentarily quiets. Sleep often arrives during these windows if you're receptive to it. But if you're actively fighting sleeplessness, you might miss these openings entirely. A 2024 study on sleep timing found that individuals who rested quietly, without effort-filled attempts to force sleep, caught these natural dips 3 times more effectively than those actively struggling. The stories you tell yourself about stress shape its impact more powerfully than the stress itself. 2 people can face identical circumstances, the same deadline, same conflict, same uncertainty, yet experience vastly different sleep outcomes based on their internal narrative. One tells a story of threat, catastrophe, and helplessness. The other tells a story of challenge, temporary difficulty, and eventual resolution. Recent narrative therapy research from 2024 demonstrated that rewriting stress narratives literally journaling alternative interpretations of stressful events, reduced sleep latency by an average of 18 minutes within 1 week. The external circumstances hadn't changed. The internal story had. And with it, the physiological arousal maintaining wakefulness. Your narrative creates your experience. Darkness itself has therapeutic properties for stressed nervous systems. Independent of sleep, sitting quietly in darkness without screens, without attempting sleep, allows your eyes to signal your brain that it's nighttime. That rest is appropriate. That vigilance can decrease. Darkness triggers melatonin production even if you're not sleeping. It reduces sensory input, giving your overstimulated mind less to process. A 2024 sensory intervention study found that stressed individuals who spent 20 minutes in complete darkness before attempting sleep showed significantly lower arousal markers and fell asleep 15 minutes faster than those who went from lit environments directly to bed. Darkness itself whispers to your ancient brain it's safe to rest now. Muscle tension and mental tension are deeply interconnected through feedback loops. When your mind is stressed, your muscles contract. But the reverse is also true when your muscles are tense. They send signals back to your brain indicating continued threat. This creates a self-perpetuating cycle. Progressive muscle relaxation deliberately interrupts this cycle by systematically releasing tension, which then signals your brain that threat has passed. You can't think your way out of physical tension, but you can physically release your way toward mental calm. The body influences the mind as much as the mind influences the body. Sometimes the pathway to mental peace runs through physical release. Sleep doesn't require perfect conditions. Your ancestors slept on the ground, in caves, with predators nearby, during storms, in heat and cold. The human capacity for sleep is robust and adaptable when not overridden by perceived psychological threat. What matters most isn't the perfect pillow, ideal temperature, or complete silence. Though these help, what matters is your nervous system receiving clear signals that rest is safe, that vigilance can pause, that you're protected enough to be vulnerable. This explains why people sometimes sleep deeply in unexpected places. A chair, a car, a hospital waiting room. When exhausted enough that the drive for sleep finally overrides threat perception, safety is primarily about perception, not perfection. The thought "I must fall asleep now" is itself a stressor that activates arousal. It creates urgency, deadline pressure, performance anxiety, all antithetical to sleep. Notice how children fall asleep easily without trying, without deadlines, without performance anxiety about sleep itself. They simply get tired and sleep comes. Adults complicate this natural process by adding layers of urgency and evaluation. "If I don't sleep now, tomorrow will be difficult," is a stress-inducing thought that makes sleep less likely, creating the very outcome you fear. A 2024 cognitive study found that removing time pressure, covering clocks, reframing sleep as rest, whether or not unconsciousness occurs, reduced anxiety-related arousal by 45%. Your breath is the most accessible tool for shifting from stress to calm, from wakefulness to sleep readiness. Unlike heart rate or hormone levels, breathing is both automatic and voluntary. Your body breathes without conscious thought, yet you can consciously change the pattern. Slow, deep breathing directly activates the vagus nerve, the primary pathway of the parasympathetic nervous system. Each long, slow exhale literally tells your body the threat has passed. It's safe to rest now. No stress management technique is more immediately accessible or more supported by physiological research. Your breath is always with you, always available, always capable of guiding you toward calm. Stress often masquerades as urgency, the feeling that you must resolve everything right now, tonight, before sleep is permitted. But genuine emergencies requiring immediate nighttime action are rare. Most concerns will be equally solvable or unsolvable tomorrow morning. The urgency is artificial, created by anxiety rather than reality. Learning to distinguish between true emergencies and anxiety-generated urgency is profoundly liberating. A 2024 decision-making study asked participants to evaluate whether their nighttime worries actually required immediate action or could wait until morning. In 94% of cases, they determined the concern could wait, yet the feeling of urgency had felt completely real in the moment. Feelings of urgency are not the same as actual urgency. The quality of your waking rest matters as much as your sleeping rest. Throughout the day, brief moments of genuine relaxation, not scrolling, not breaks spent worrying, but actual mental quiet, help prevent the accumulation of stress that makes nighttime sleep difficult. Even 2 minutes of closed eyes, slow breathing, and deliberate muscle relaxation can partially reset your stress response. These microdoses of calm throughout the day create a foundation for nighttime sleep. You're not trying to eliminate all stress, but you're preventing continuous stress accumulation. Think of it as regular pressure release valves that prevent the system from becoming overwhelmed by evening. Comparison amplifies stress-related sleep problems. When you compare yourself to people who fall asleep instantly or never have sleep problems, you generate feelings of inadequacy that add to existing stress. But sleep capacity varies naturally across humans, just as height, metabolism, and personality vary. Some people are naturally resilient sleepers, others are sensitive. Neither is better or worse. They're simply different phenotypes shaped by genetics and experience. A 2024 sleep phenotype study found that approximately 30% of adults have heightened sleep vulnerability to stress. Not because they're doing something wrong, but because their nervous systems are simply more reactive, different, not defective. We now understand that stress-related sleeplessness isn't a disorder to cure, but a response to learn from. Your inability to sleep during stress is your nervous system communicating important information. Something feels threatening. Something needs attention. Something isn't resolved. Rather than viewing sleeplessness as an enemy, you can view it as a messenger. What is the arousal trying to tell you? What perceived threat is your system responding to? Sometimes the answer leads to useful action, addressing a legitimate concern. More often, the answer reveals that your threat detection system is overreacting to situations that aren't actually dangerous. Either way, the sleeplessness becomes information rather than simply a problem to eliminate. Temperature regulation offers a surprisingly effective pathway for managing stress-related arousal. A warm bath, 60 to 90 minutes before bed, triggers a natural cooling response afterward. As your body temperature drops following the warmth, it mirrors the temperature decline necessary for sleep initiation. The warmth dilates blood vessels, brings heat to the surface, and then, as you cool down, your core temperature drops, signaling sleep readiness to your brain. This works even when you're stressed because it's a physiological rather than psychological intervention. A 2024 thermoregulation study showed that warm baths reduced cortisol by 22% and shortened sleep latency by an average of 17 minutes. Effects independent of the bather's mental state. Ritual creates psychological safety through predictability and familiarity. A consistent bedtime routine, the same sequence of activities each night, signals your brain that the transition to sleep is beginning, that this is safe territory you've traveled before. The specific activities matter less than the consistency. Reading, stretching, skincare, whatever brings you calm. The routine becomes a bridge between the aroused state of your day and the restful state sleep requires. A 2024 behavioral sleep study found that adults with consistent bedtime routines fell asleep 24 minutes faster than those with irregular pre-sleep habits, even when both groups experienced similar daytime stress. Ritual provides structure that stress disrupts. Letting go is not the same as giving up. Giving up implies defeat. Resignation, hopelessness. Letting go means releasing control over what you cannot control. Accepting what is, while remaining open to what might be. When you let go of the urgent need to fall asleep immediately, you often paradoxically fall asleep sooner. When you let go of trying to solve unsolvable problems at 2 a.m., you create space for rest. When you let go of resistance to your current state, awake, stressed, uncomfortable, you stop adding the suffering of resistance to the discomfort of the situation. Acceptance isn't passive. It's the most active choice you can make. Your body knows how to sleep. This capacity hasn't been lost or damaged by stress. It's been temporarily overridden. Every cell in your body contains ancient instructions for rest, for repair, for recovery. Your DNA carries hundreds of thousands of years of successful sleep encoded in its structure. This knowledge doesn't require conscious thought or effort to access. It simply needs permission to activate, space to unfold, and the absence of competing arousal signals. When you stop fighting sleeplessness and simply rest quietly with acceptance, you create conditions where these ancient instructions can run their natural course. The wisdom is already within you. It always has been. Compassion toward yourself during stress-related sleeplessness matters more than most people realize. Self-criticism. I should be able to handle this. What's wrong with me? Adds shame to stress. Arousal to arousal. Self-compassion. This is difficult, and I'm doing my best. Activate soothing systems that reduce arousal. A 2024 self-compassion intervention study with insomnia patients found that those who practiced self-kindness showed faster sleep improvement than those who maintained self-critical internal dialogue. The content of your thoughts matters, but the tone you use with yourself, harsh or gentle, profoundly influences your nervous system's state. You deserve the same kindness you would offer a struggling friend. Nature sounds, rain, ocean waves, gentle wind, can facilitate the transition from stress to sleep more effectively than silence or music. These sounds provide auditory masking that blocks intrusive noises while creating rhythmic, predictable patterns that entrain brain activity towards slower frequencies. The randomness within the patterns prevents habituation, while the overall predictability signals safety. A 2024 auditory neuroscience study found that nature sounds reduced rumination by 41%, and decreased sleep onset time by an average of 19 minutes in stressed individuals. The sounds don't eliminate stress, but they provide something for your attention to rest upon besides your worries. A gentle anchor in the present moment. The gap between wakefulness and sleep is smaller than it feels in the moment. You don't have to travel a vast distance from aroused wakefulness to deep sleep all at once. You only need to cross the first threshold, from wakefulness to drowsiness. From there, if left undisturbed, your brain naturally progresses through deepening stages. The overwhelming feeling that sleep is impossibly far away is a distortion created by arousal itself. In reality, sleep is always just one threshold away, one letting go, one release, one moment of surrendering the struggle, closer than you think, waiting patiently for permission to arrive. Forgiveness of others, of circumstances, of yourself, releases a surprising amount of tension that otherwise maintains arousal through the night. Holding on to resentment, replaying conflicts, planning retribution, defending yourself against perceived wrongs. All of these maintain activated threat response systems. They keep you in a state of psychological combat that's fundamentally incompatible with sleep. A 2024 forgiveness intervention study found that participants who practiced forgiveness exercises before bed showed significantly reduced sleep latency and improved sleep quality. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harm or pretending everything is fine. It means releasing the grip that past events hold over your present nervous system. What happened has happened. This moment is new. The concept of sleep effort becomes crucial to understand as we near the end of our journey. Effort requires activation, goal setting, striving, monitoring progress. Sleep requires the opposite: release, surrender, cessation of striving. Every moment you spend trying hard to fall asleep is a moment you're maintaining the wakefulness you're trying to escape. This doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means the approach itself creates the problem. The shift from effort to allowing is subtle but transformative. Stop trying to make sleep happen. Simply create conditions where sleep might naturally arrive. Then get out of the way. We've learned that stress blocks sleep through ancient survival mechanisms meeting modern worries, through chemical cascades and neural activation patterns, through feedback loops and self-perpetuating cycles. But we've also discovered something more hopeful. None of this makes you broken. Your sleep system isn't damaged. It's working exactly as evolution designed, just in the wrong context. The pathway back to sleep doesn't require fixing yourself. It requires understanding these mechanisms, working with them rather than against them, accepting what is while creating space for change. Sleep is your natural state. Stress has temporarily convinced your body otherwise, but truth endures, and your body remembers what rest feels like. The way back is through acceptance, release, and trust. Almost done. Relax even deeper. Did you know most matter, from a grain of sand to a star, is mostly empty space? Atoms are mostly empty space between nucleus and electrons. Even your body is more space than matter, mostly emptiness, held together by invisible forces, creating the illusion of solidity. So let go of feeling too heavy, too solid, too stuck. You are mostly space, mostly possibility, mostly potential. Let all pressure, all worry dissolve, like dust particles floating, drifting in the immense universe. Light, floating, insubstantial. We'll continue with the final facts. Stress whispers that you're not safe enough to sleep, but your body knows differently. Every cell remembers how to rest, how to repair, how to let go. Sleep isn't something you achieve or earn through perfect behavior. It's something you allow. Like breathing, like your heartbeat. You don't make your heart beat. You don't force air into your lungs. These happen when you stop interfering. Sleep is the same. Not a task to complete, but a permission to grant. Your body is already trying to sleep. You need only step aside. The thoughts racing through your mind right now, they'll still be there tomorrow. Not one will be lost. Not one will be forgotten if it matters. But tonight, they don't need your attention. They don't need solutions or analysis or rehearsal. They can rest too, like birds settling into trees at dusk. Quiet until morning light returns. Thoughts don't require constant tending. They can wait. You can wait. Everything can wait. This moment is for rest, not resolution. Imagine your stress as a storm passing overhead. You're watching from shelter, dry and protected. The thunder may be loud, the lightning bright, but the storm isn't happening to you. It's happening around you. Weather always passes. No storm lasts forever. You don't need to stop the storm. Just wait beneath safe shelter until it moves on. And storms always move on. The sky always clears. Calm always returns. Always. Your breathing right now is perfect exactly as it is. You don't need to change it or improve it. Just notice it. The gentle rise and fall. The cool air entering. The warm air leaving. Each breath caring for you without effort, without thought. Breath has sustained you since your first moment of life. It will sustain you through this moment too. Trust it. Follow it into deeper quiet. Sleep comes like a tide. Not because you demand it or deserve it or earn it. Just because it's the natural rhythm. High tide, low tide, wakefulness, sleep. The ocean doesn't try to create waves. Waves simply arise from the nature of water and moon and earth. Your sleep is like that too. Not created through effort, but arising from the nature of being human, being alive. Being exactly what you are right now in this moment. The darkness around you is not empty. It's full of possibility, full of rest, full of healing you cannot see but can trust is happening. Cells repairing, toxins clearing, memories sorting themselves into proper places. All of this happens in darkness, in quiet. Whether or not you sleep deeply, rest itself is healing. Even lying quietly with eyes closed gives your body what it needs. You don't have to sleep perfectly to heal. Worry is just thought taking itself too seriously. A story your mind tells about what might happen, could happen, should happen. But stories aren't truth. They're just stories. Like clouds drifting across the sky. Sometimes dark, sometimes light, always temporary, always changing shape. You can watch the clouds without becoming them. You can notice worried thoughts without becoming worry itself. There's space between you and your thoughts. Rest in that space now. Your heart has been beating since before you were born. Before you took your first breath, before you knew your own name, it will keep beating through this night. You don't need to help it or control it. It knows what to do. Your lungs know what to do. Your brain knows what to do. You're held by systems wiser than worry, older than stress, automatic and perfect, somewhere right now. Someone else is lying awake too. You're not alone in this. Thousands of people in your city, millions across the world, all awake when they wish to sleep, all carrying their own versions of stress and worry. But you're also not alone in healing, in trying, in hoping for rest. Send them kindness. Receive kindness back. We're all doing our best with nervous systems designed for different challenges. The moment you stop trying is often the moment sleep arrives. Not because trying is bad, but because trying is effort, and effort is arousal, and arousal prevents what you're seeking. This is the paradox of sleep. The more you pursue it with urgency, the faster it runs. The more gently you allow it, the sooner it arrives. Let go now. Stop chasing. Simply rest where you are. Every night you've ever slept, you crossed this same threshold from wakefulness to sleep. You've made this journey thousands of times. Your body knows the way even when your mind has forgotten. Trust the body. It remembers what the worried mind cannot recall in this moment. The pathway to sleep is already within you, already known, already traveled countless times before. You're not learning something new. You're remembering something ancient. Your worth isn't determined by how quickly you fall asleep or how well you manage stress. You're valuable exactly as you are in this moment. Awake, tired, stressed, imperfect, human. You don't have to earn rest through good behavior or lose it through struggle. Rest is your birthright. Sleep is your inheritance. These belong to you not because you're perfect, but because you're alive. As we drift toward the end of this journey, consider this stress was never your enemy. It's a messenger, like wind carrying news from distant places. Sometimes the news is harsh and the wind howls, but wind passes. Messages fade. What remains is the stillness underneath. Your nervous system knows how to return to calm. It's wired for balance. You don't need to fight the storm. Just let the gentle rain wash over you. The perfect conditions for sleep you're waiting for. Complete calm, zero stress, total peace may never arrive, but you can sleep anyway. Not perfectly, not ideally, but genuinely. Sleep doesn't require perfection. It requires permission. The permission to rest despite imperfect circumstances. To let go despite unsolved problems. To be gentle with yourself despite stress. Give yourself that permission now. It's enough. So could stress really prevent sleep? Yes. We've seen exactly how, through chemistry and neural circuits, through ancient biology meeting modern life. But can you sleep despite stress? Also, yes. Not by eliminating stress, but by changing your relationship with it. By working with your body instead of against it. By releasing effort and allowing what is. The answer isn't in perfect conditions. It's in acceptance of imperfect ones. Sleep becomes possible when you stop demanding it. Notice how heavy your body feels now. That heaviness is good. It's your muscles finally releasing the tension they've held for hours or days. Let them. Let everything feel heavy and soft and ready to sink deeper into whatever surface holds you. Gravity is pulling you gently downward, not falling, just settling, like leaves drifting to earth in autumn. Inevitable, natural, safe. Your eyelids might be heavy, or they might be light. Either is perfectly fine. There's no right way to feel right now. No wrong way either. Just however you are is exactly enough. The body finds its own way toward rest when we stop telling it how it should feel or what it should do. So stop directing. Start allowing. Release all expectations of how this moment should unfold. Tomorrow will come whether or not you sleep perfectly tonight. The sun will rise. Your problems will still be there. But so will your capacity to handle them. Maybe sleep will come deeply. Maybe it will be light and fragmented. Either way, you'll survive. You've survived every difficult night before this one. You'll survive this one too. Survival is certain. Perfection is optional. Choose survival. Choose rest. Choose kindness. The space between your thoughts is growing wider now, like clouds drifting apart to reveal blue sky between them. More sky than cloud, more silence than thought, more peace than worry. You don't have to create this space. It's already there. Always has been. Just waiting for you to notice it. Rest your attention in the gaps, in the quiet, in the space between. Sleep will come. Maybe in 1 minute, maybe in 10, maybe in 30, but it will come because it always does. Every single night of your entire life, sleep has eventually arrived. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but always eventually. Trust that pattern. Trust that history. Trust that your body knows what to do when you finally give it permission to do it. Permission granted. Rest now. The real change isn't in your stress levels or your circumstances or your problems being solved. The real change is in this learning that you can rest even when things aren't perfect. Sleep even when stressed. Be gentle with yourself even when struggling. This is the wisdom stress couldn't teach, but sleeplessness could. You're stronger than you knew, more resilient than you believed, more deserving of rest than you ever imagined. Rest now. Knowing this truth, you might already be drifting, thoughts becoming fuzzy, reality becoming distant, awareness fading like twilight into night. If you are, let it happen. Don't fight back to alertness. Don't check if you're sleeping yet. Just let yourself drift like a boat untying from the dock, floating gently out into darker, quieter waters. No destination, no timeline, just drifting. Peaceful and slow. Every person who's ever lived has felt this way sometimes. Awake when wanting sleep. Stressed when needing calm. Struggling when hoping for ease. You're part of the human family in this struggle. Not isolated. Not uniquely broken. Just human. And humans. Despite everything. Despite stress and worry and racing thoughts. Humans sleep. We always have. You will too. Because you're human. Because sleep is what humans do. Almost there now. Almost at the place where words end and quiet begins. Where trying stops and allowing starts. Where the journey we've taken together leads you gently toward your own rest. Your own rhythm. Your own perfect timing for sleep. Thank you for walking this path with me. For listening. For trying. For being here. You can let go now. I'll stay with you a little longer. And then even these words will fade too. The ultimate truth stress couldn't teach, but this journey reveals sleep isn't about controlling your mind or perfecting your circumstances or eliminating all worry. It's about trusting your body's ancient wisdom, accepting this moment exactly as it is, and releasing the illusion that you must be different, better, calmer before rest is allowed. You're enough, right now, this moment, exactly as you are, stressed or calm, awake or drifting, perfect in your imperfection. Sleep comes not to the perfect, but to the accepting. Accept now, rest now, peace. And so, our quiet journey through the landscape of stress and sleep comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the ancient alarm bells of the amygdala to the modern worries that keep them ringing, discovering along the way that sleeplessness isn't failure, but a perfectly functioning survival system, responding to threats that exist only in thought. From cortisol floods to racing thoughts, from muscle tension to mental loops. We've glimpsed how stress is both utterly human and ultimately manageable, not through perfection, but through understanding, not through force, but through acceptance. Stress and sleep remind us that we are both ancient and modern, carrying biological systems hundreds of thousands of years old, facing challenges those systems never anticipated. Much of the healing happens in silence, in darkness, in the simple act of letting go. Sleep reveals patience we forgot we possessed, resilience we never knew we had. Without struggle, we'd never learn gentleness. Without stress, we'd never appreciate peace. By pausing to notice, we glimpse the extraordinary capacity for rest, living within ordinary, imperfect, beautifully human bodies. In these final moments, take the deepest breath you can. As deep as possible, think about consciousness itself. Yours, mine, everyone listening, all awareness everywhere, perhaps all connected in ways we don't yet understand. You are not alone in the universe of minds. All the stress you've carried, others have carried too. All the sleeplessness you've endured, others endure alongside you. We're all floating together in this strange experience of being aware, being alive, being tired, being human. Let your entire being dissolve into the ocean of consciousness, into dreamless rest, into the space before thought. No boundaries left, only peace, only quiet, only this. If this thoughtful exploration of the mind helped you relax or understand yourself tonight, a gentle like and subscribe helps other sleepless souls discover this peaceful space too. It might be exactly what another tired mind needs. It only takes a moment, but it means the world to us. One quiet tap, one peaceful night at a time. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, farther than most journeys take you. You can allow these thoughts of stress and sleep to fade now, like ink dissolving in water, leaving only clear, peaceful, calm behind. Let your breathing deepen naturally, without forcing. Let your body feel heavier, as if the earth itself is gently pulling you closer, holding you safely. If sleep comes, let it carry you like a leaf on a quiet stream, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where stress and worry no longer exist, where only rest remains. If your eyes are still open, there's another video waiting, ready to continue this journey with you. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels like home. Tomorrow, your challenges will still be there, your responsibilities, your concerns. But tonight belongs to stillness, to rest, to the healing that happens in quiet darkness while you simply allow yourself to be. Rest well, peaceful soul. And remember, you are not your stress. You are not your racing thoughts. You are not your sleeplessness. You are the awareness that notices all of these, the consciousness that observes, the being that remains peaceful underneath the surface chaos. That peaceful being is who you truly are, and that being is ready to rest now. Fall asleep to gentle psychology, where science meets sleep. Dream deeper with bedtime wisdom. Relax, listen, and drift into peace. Good night.